Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome. I will be starting my new trilogy soon. So basically, this trilogy is going to pick up a couple years after the events of my rewrite of the, sequel. So if you haven't seen those, watch those before you start the trilogy series that I'm creating now. So basically, what this series is going to hone in on is the idea of balance. How there's a balance between the light and the dark, There's a balance between everything. The new republic that has started is going to have to find a balance between either being too harsh like the Empire, or it's going to be, too lenient like the new republic that fell instantly. I'm super excited for this. Part of me thought to maybe go back and just completely redo the sequels and make the new storyline, but I think the whole character setup, I have a really cool plan for what I'm going to do for this trilogy. Okay, so the first movie of my new trilogy will be called Star Wars Unbalanced, and it will take about 5 to 10 years after the events of my rewritten sequel trilogy. So after the opening crawl, you start seeing some blasts, and then a ship goes by, and it turns out that it's Poe Dameron testing the new fighter that will be used as the primary ship for the new Galactic Democratic Assembly, which is basically the New Republic, but after the Rise of Skywalker. Now this ship will be kind of a one-person ship with the ability for an astromech to also control a rotating turret of some kind, and it should look a bit more futuristic than the standard X-Wing, just painted a different color. Poe then lands the new fighter, and it's revealed how he is the new head of the military for the new Galactic Republic. He also has grayer hair because of the stress of being in charge and to show the time frame difference. He then meets with a couple officers on his walk to his office on Mandalore, which is the new military capital, and states how the new fighter by Trek Industries will fulfill the needs of the new Galactic Democratic Assembly. Poe then goes to his office where his receptionist will tell him that his guest is here. He walks through the door and says, "Hello, Ben." Ben Solo will be standing in his office looking at some of Poe's office artifacts and then greet Poe. Poe thanks Ben for the meeting as he was curious on the status of the new Jedi that Ben is training. Ben stresses how they aren't Jedi, as Jedi is an outdated term. Ben says that they are the new Force users and they will not be a threat to Poe's Republic, which is what Ben senses Poe is really curious about. Poe then asks if Rey is actually dead, to which Ben confirms. Poe is then thankful as he was worried that after she was possessed by Palpatine, she would be too dangerous, which this angers Ben decently, and Ben tries to leave, but Poe says on his way out, "Hey, I'm sorry that we aren't friends yet, but I hope someday we might be." Leaving Poe's office, Ben Solo then gets into his ship, and as it's taking off, he looks forward and says, "So how are you doing today?" The scene then shows Rey climbing up the side of a mountain on Warband, to which he replies, "Been better," so they're forced FaceTiming again. Ben then complains to Rey that Luke Skywalker, his now co-teacher of the new Force User Order, is not listening to Ben's ideas about how the dark side is a necessary subject to teach the younglings. Rey tells Ben how she's entering an old Sith temple, and she's learning so much about how the Sith knew, they had a lot of knowledge too, and that she feels like the new Order could use this knowledge as well. Ben then asks how the voice inside her head is, but Rey ends the conversation as she comes to the door in the temple, to which she uses Force lightning to open. When Rey then gets into the room, she sees a Sith holocron, but a giant Sith beast is blocking her path. Sith beast asks why it should let Rey through. Rey then shoots Force lightning at the beast. The beast, of course, is not injured, but lets Rey through as he senses the darkness within her, aka the Palpatine possession. As Rey grabs the holocron, the beast asks if she's going to use it to bring rise to the Sith. Rey then tells the beast how she isn't with the Sith, which causes the beast to then attack her. She then flees the beast, which shoots fire and lightning. Rey has no other choice but to escape through an opening in the ceiling while the beast chases her up. She gets out and slides down the mountain as she calls in her ship, the Axe-Wing, with her arm device, and jumps in it as the beast takes flight after her. Dio is in the ship as well and asks how her exploring is going. Also, to me, added in, Rey has made many upgrades to Dio since Rise of Skywalker. As Rey is flying away in the Axe-Wing, away from the Sith Beast, Palpatine speaks in her head and tells her that if she truly wants to end the Sith, she must kill this Sith Beast. She then has Dio man the turret and shoot the beast, but its armor is too thick. She then has Dio autopilot the ship, and she jumps out and slashes at the beast's neck, cutting a little deep. This only angers the beast, so then Rey tries to cut a hole in the back of the armor while fighting off the tentacles from the beast's head. As she's multitasking with cutting to the armor and fighting off the tentacles, this is where Rey ignites her double blade on her yellow lightsaber. Once she has a hole in the armor, the beast then throws her off into the sky, and as she's falling, the beast is taunting her that her saber will never cut through his armor. Rey then says how she knows this and she was just creating an opening. The X-Wing then flies in and does what it does best and cuts off the beast's head at the weakened neck point, and then zooms to catch Rey. The beast is defeated as Rey and Dio fly away with the Sith holocron. The scene starts out and shows the new GDA soldiers practicing tactics against droids, using like stun blasts and stun grenades and like stun shots. The droids then surrender, but one of the soldiers still shoots them all. The light then turns on and Phasma yells stop. She's been training previous brainwashed Final Order troopers to fight for the new GDA, but they still go back to their old ways sometimes. Poe enters to see how the troops are going, and Phasma then introduces Poe to a new female Mandalorian by the name of Nentra. Nentra is the leading military advisor, using her Mandalorian combat knowledge to better educate the new soldiers. Poe thanks her and all of Mandalore for allowing their homeworld to be the new site of the GDA's military home base. Nentra comments how she is happy to oblige as her people never joined the Republic or the New Republic or the Empire, but she feels that the GDA will be different. Poe thanks Nentra and then goes with Phasma to check on Janna's setup. Janna has been manufacturing new force shield armor for the new soldiers and new guns more focused on stunning for the GDA. This is to make the soldiers not as lethal and not as threatening as the Empire was. The scene then shifts to Rey, who is still trying to open the Sith holocron, but only gets a glimpse of the knowledge inside. She realizes this holocron needs its opposite counterpart, a Jedi holocron, in order to reveal all. Ben then arrives at the Force User Temple on Tatooine. He meets up with Luke and talks about him and Poe's meeting. Ben and Luke then give a lesson to the new Force users about the sides of the Force. Luke teaches about the light side, but Ben teaches about the dark side. Luke is angered by this as Ben says it's okay to use the dark side, as you can balance both types of the Force. Luke disagrees and tells Ben that if he isn't in the light, he's in the dark, and that there is no middle ground. Ben then storms off. Rey Force FaceTimes Ben and asks him about the Jedi holocron that she needs to pair with her Sith holocron. Ben tells her a holocron fanatic by the name of Fisley once tried to join the new Force user troop, but was rejected because he wasn't Force sensitive and he kept calling them Jedi. He might know where she can get the answers she needs. Fisley left a way to track him, and Ben tells Rey that he is on Corvanda. As Rey hangs up, a Padawan by the name of Kin comes into Ben's room and asks him to teach her what the dark side really is. Ben looks at her and smiles. Other notable Force user in Ben and Luke's Force user school will be this four-armed alien by the name of Latara, who has two double-bladed lightsabers that can separate into four blades, one for each of her arms. And then there's an older gentleman by the name of Champ, basically an old dog can't learn new tricks kind of guy, who has had to hide his Force powers in fear of the Empire and the Final Order his entire life, but finally can be who he was born to be. Rey then travels to the planet of Corvanda. Corvanda is basically a forested planet with an indigenous tribe of weird aliens called the Armashios that live in temples and trees. The signal for Fisley leads Rey to one of these temples, and in the tree temple she discovers that Armashios are actually obsessed with the Jedi and keep many Jedi relics for worship. Rey then finds Fisley tied up by some Armashios. Rey confronts them and they tell her that Fisley was trying to steal one of their sacred Jedi holocrons, but they caught him and took the holocron that he had on him. Rey then asks to speak with their prisoner, but they deny her request. She then draws her lightsaber and says that she is a Jedi. Sidious's voice bellows in Rey's mind, "Liar!" And then the Armashios ask her to prove it by opening the holocron that Fisley had on him. Rey looks at Fisley and he says, "Go for it." Rey starts to open the Jedi holocron, much to the Armashios' amazement, but Rey sees inside the holocron and she says, it's a bomb. She then force pushes the open holocron as far away as she can, but then explodes, destroying a large portion of the Armashios' temple. This angers the Armashios and they attack Rey, coming at her with spears and tribal weaponry. Rey slashes at them with her lightsaber at first, just to disarm them, but she starts getting flashes of Palpatine in her mind saying, "Why would you let them live? They worship the Jedi. The Jedi are no more purpose to their inferior lives. Give in to your anger. Kill them now." Rey starts killing the Armashios, but then realizes the tree is very unstable because of the explosion. So she force pushes them all back and then summons her X-Wing to cut the tree. As the tree is falling, her and Fisley slide down the toppling trunk, slashing it, still fighting Armashios, but before impact, they escape into the X-Wing. On top of the tree stump, Rey asks Fisley why he keeps a holocron that turns into a bomb with him. He then tells her how he kept it with him since another holocron had prophesied that the bomb holocron would save his life someday. Rey then opens up the holocron that the Armashios worshipped, and it's an old Jedi teaching the younglings to not kill unless they have to. Rey then slashes it in half. Fisley says, "Well, you certainly aren't a Jedi, but that doesn't matter. You saved my life and I'll help you with what you need." Cut to the Galactic Democratic Assembly. Poe is in his office and is visited by Nentra, and she convinces Poe that the new Force users still may pose a threat. Poe agrees that their activity has been suspicious lately, and the conversation he had with Ben that didn't turn out so well earlier definitely didn't help his opinion of him, so he decides to go check it out firsthand. I want it to be noted that Fisley is a bumbling and nervous scientist. Rey and Fisley go to Maz's castle on Takodana, where Fisley swears the desired holocron Rey is looking for is located. But now the castle is semi-rebuilt, but looks worn and more shady. Maz reveals how it is now a bounty hunter sanctuary, somewhere safe for bounty hunters to be protected from the GDA, where they can hang out, train, and get more bounties to make more money. Chewie is there as well, with grayer hair and a meaner demeanor. Maz points out that this is because he's tired of the war life and losing his friends. He only wants to run jobs and make money from now on. Rey then asks for the holocron, but Maz says she'll only give it up if Rey gives back the lightsaber she was given in The Force Awakens. Maz wants Anakin's saber, which Rey knows is on Tatooine. Ben tries to force FaceTime Rey, but feels like she's blocking him, as if she doesn't want him to know that she's coming to take Anakin's saber. Ben dismisses the idea and then goes to watch the younglings practice combat on each other. Kin is currently training on lightsaber combat against Latara. If you guys don't remember, Kin is the youngling that Ben currently taught the dark side to, only slightly, but just because she was interested. Latara seems to have the upper hand in the battle and have Kin cornered, but then Kin force chokes Latara. Luke instantly stops the training and yells at Kin, asking where she learned that technique, but then he turns to Ben and he knows where she learned it. Ben argues that it's necessary to teach all the Force to the new younglings to give them a full understanding, whereas Luke is still too afraid that once they touch the dark side, it will engulf them. He fears the dark side because he has post-traumatic stress disorder from it. Their argument only ends when both of them stop and sense that someone is nearing the temple. Ben and Luke go to the front gates of the Jedi Temple on Tatooine and find Fisley there, asking if they would reconsider letting him join as a researcher. Ben senses something is suspicious as he recalls he just mentioned Fisley earlier that day to Rey, so Ben then slips away to investigate. Ben then comes across Rey in the lightsaber room of the temple, about to take Anakin's lightsaber. Ben then confronts her, and she tells him that she must do this alone, but he insists to go with her, that their connection has to mean something. But then Luke enters the room and yells, "Rey!" Luke is surprised at Rey being alive, but this surprise then turns to anger because he knows that Ben has been lying to him, and then he tells Ben that he can't trust her as she is possessed by a Sith spirit. This then, of course, turns into a giant, expertly choreographed lightsaber battle. In the lightsaber room, Luke battles Rey and Ben using his green saber, but once he realizes that he's outmatched, he starts levitating other sabers off the wall and throwing them at Rey and Ben, dueling against his ex-students with levitating sabers. It looks badass as hell. It looks as if Ben is about to be hit by one of the sabers, but Rey does the force pass behind her back thing to Ben, giving Ben Anakin's saber, so now Ben is dual wielding. Luke then force pushes the walls down as him and Ben keep fighting to the edge of the temple, but Rey is stopped by the younglings from the temple, but she just easily force pushes them away because they're so young in the Force. Luke and Ben are dueling until they break through the outer wall going to the outside of the temple, and it looks as if Luke is gonna win, but Dio comes out of nowhere and shoots Luke's robot arm with electricity, stunning it and disarming him, so Ben then stands over Luke, lightsaber pointing at his chest. This time, it's made pretty clear that Poe has been watching from a distance this whole time and catches Ben with a saber pointed at Luke, and calls him a traitor of the GDA and sends his troops to get him, including Nentra the Mandalorian. Ben flees with Rey to the X-Wing but are stopped by Nentra and other GDA troops with the guns pointed right at him. But Kin, the youngling that Ben taught the dark side of the Force to, chokes Nentra and the other troops and throws them to the side, saving Ben and Rey. Kin then joins the gang as they all flee the temple and fly off in the X-Wing. Poe then helps Luke up and tells Luke that he cannot control his dangerous pupils, so the GDA will now be taking over the Force users to better control their power. Rey, Ben, and Kin then fly to Maz's castle on Takodana to return Anakin's saber. Maz then brings them to her collection room, which is behind a large vault, and places the saber on a pedestal and gives the gang the Jedi holocron that they need. As they exit the vault, Chewie walks in and sees Ben, and then he goes crazy because Ben killed Chewie's best friend, Han. Maz then turns on them and it looks bad. Chewie charges Ben holding an electro hammer, and Ben has no choice but to ignite Anakin's saber from the vault and pull it into his hands and block Chewie's oncoming attack. Ray then force pushes Maz down easily and slashes at Maz's cronies with Kin. Then Ray, Ben, and Kin combined force puts Chewie to sleep. Ben, Ray, and Kin are escaping Maz's castle. An announcement goes off throughout the compound as Maz says that she has now put a large bounty on Ray, Kin, and Ben's head. So now they have to fight their way out of her castle by battling countless bounty hunters of all shapes and sizes with different and unique powers. They make it outside, but there are a lot of troops in front of them. But Ray tells Dio to do the thing. Ray and Ben and Kin take cover as Dio stands on his nose and sends out an electrical pulse and like a shockwave around him, allowing Ray, Ben, and Kin to escape in the X-Wing. In the X-Wing, Ray and Ben decide it's finally time to combine the Jedi and Sith holocron and see what's so important. Ben and Ray argue about who's more Sith and who's more Jedi in order to open their respective holocrons, but Ray takes the Sith one and opens it, and Ben then has to open the Jedi one reluctantly. The combined holocrons reveal a video from a long time ago. There is a meeting around a table with the central Mandalorian in gold armor, surrounded by Force users of both sides of the Force. The main golden Mandalorian tells of a plan to make money. He convinces them that the two sides of the Force, light and dark, should go on an extensive war with each other, and the Mandalorian would then supply the weapons, and those sitting at the table would get profits from all the weapons sold. There were always a difference between the light and dark sides of the Force, but there was a balance, and the users knew that they could learn from each other. But after this meeting, the heads of the light and the dark side turned themselves into the Jedi and Sith, respectively. These users would then start a conflict that would last generations just to get money. One from the light side objects, saying how the light side would never be selfish enough to fight for money. A Sith then stabs him with a red lightsaber, and the main Mandalorian chuckles and said, "Now that's the spirit." He then raises a glass for a toast and says, "Keep up the war, House Vol will keep up the weapons, and we will keep making a..." The hologram ends, and Ray and Ben look at each other, thoroughly shook at what they saw. The first movie then ends by showing Maz's castle in ruins, and a little robot with 6 spider-like legs walking up to a dead body and starts to scan it as a man comes into frame. Maz says that it's no use. The man's brother is dead. The man then scoops his hand down and picks up the little robot, which then attaches itself to his forearm, and he says, "Tell me who I'm gonna have to hunt." At this point, I want some serious EDM like Jaden Smith Skrillex stuff to start playing, and that's the end of the movie. I want to add that Rey looks much more like this, the right-hand side of the photo, than the Zuko look she had previously. I was going for more of an evil look than the half of her face being a scar, so from now on, just think of her with this look.